Hello and a very warm welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, it will probably not have escaped your notice that property prices are rising fast in Bulgaria. So far in 2024, Sofia has been a star performer, and on average, you're now looking at between 1,700 and 2,000 euros per square meter on average. In the center, prices of 2,500 euros per square meter in Sofia are now not untypical. In Varna, centrally located property is approaching 2,000 euros per square meter, and the prestigious Greek Quarter, we're now talking 2,300 euros per square meter. In Plovdiv and Burgas, you will struggle to find centrally located property for under 1,500 euros per square meter. So the question many will ask, is real estate in Bulgaria still a good investment opportunity? Now, in this video, I will give you 10 reasons why I think, at least in the long term, real estate in Bulgaria is still worth investing in. So let's get straight down to it. Number one, GDP growth. Over the last 10 years, GDP growth has been very good in Bulgaria. Other than the pandemic year in 2020, growth has ranged from 0.95% to 7.66%. For 2024, GDP is expected to grow by 2.1%, for 25, 3.1%, and 2.7% in 2026, which for a European country is not bad at all. Let's also add to this wage growth. In actual fact, Bulgaria is the leading country in Europe when it comes to wage growth. In each of the years 2022 and 2023, wages grew by over 10%. And in 2024, it is expected to be around the 9% mark. Now, of course, a lot of this is due to inflation, but we have in Bulgaria seen some good real wage growth nevertheless. Number two, and my favorite, low taxation. Bulgarians' general rate of tax is only 10%, making it a bit of a tax haven in Europe. And low taxation is always good for investors, and in this case, the property market. Number three, very low government debt. Now, the total government debt to GDP ratio is only around the 25% mark. Contrast this to other countries in Europe, like Italy and the UK, where the figures are 137% and 104% respectively, and where taxes are already high. And I think this means in the future, Bulgaria will not really need to raise taxes. So again, long term, this will be good for the real estate market. Number four, a local, resilient, strong market. Now, what do I mean by this? I mean the Bulgarian property market is largely dependent on local buyers rather than foreign ones. For example, last month I was walking down Maria Luisa Boulevard in Varna, and I did not see a single estate agent advertise a property in English. Let's not forget, too, that due to the war, there are very few Russian buyers in this market. And yet, despite this, the property market is still doing very well in Bulgaria. And that, to me, I think is a good sign. Number five, a very well educated workforce. Now, in general, the Bulgarians are highly educated, and they also many speak at least one or two foreign languages. And I think this will stand the country in good stead for the future. Number six, Bulgarians returning home. Now, there's no doubt, due to a low birth rate and a lot of Bulgarians in the past having left the country, that Bulgaria has suffered a population decline. And this has affected many rural areas. But one piece of good news is that more and more Bulgarians, in particular professional Bulgarians, are opting to go back to Bulgaria as wages have increased significantly. It's now not uncommon for a professional in a big city like Sofia to earn in excess of 1,500 euros a month. And I've actually seen some IT manager roles in Sofia where they were paying up to 3,000 euros a month. I'm not saying that's huge by Western European standards, but it's quite significant in Bulgaria. Number seven, reasonable property prices. Now, despite the increase in property prices, they are still very reasonable when compared to other European countries. For example, let's take the capital, Sofia. Now, when I compared Sofia to Tirana, Tirana in Albania, which is a long, I can assure you, Tirana is a long way behind Sofia. But property prices in Tirana are nearly as high as those in Sofia. And in my opinion, the only capitals in Europe that really kind of compete with Sofia are definitely Budapest and also Bucharest and Athens, and perhaps to a lesser extent Warsaw and Zagreb. But Sofia is right up there. Number eight, decent yields. Now, in the big city, yields do not vary much between them. So, Sofia, Burgas, Plovdiv, Varna, you're not going to get much higher yields in one city than another. Perhaps Varna, you get slightly more, but they range from about 4.5 to 6%, 6% if you're lucky. Now, I'm not saying that's great, but it's much better than Western European cities like London, Paris, Madrid, etc. So they are decent, but they're not great. Now, number nine, increasing tourism and good infrastructure. Now, there's no doubt Bulgaria was hit by the pandemic, like many countries which have a lot of tourism. But this, fortunately, now is picking up. And also, I want to mention the infrastructure is pretty good in Bulgaria. Take the capital, Sofia. You've got 4 metro lines. And Varna, in the last 10, 15 years, the roads have been paved. The actual sidewalks now are pretty good in Varna. And from the airport to the city centre, they've paved the road and they created a fantastic roundabout in Varna. So the infrastructure is definitely getting better and is, I think, pretty good. And finally, number 10, catching up with Western Europe. So what do I mean by this? It is predicted that on current trends in the next 15 years or so, on a per capita basis, Bulgaria will actually overtake Britain. So, taking a long term view, it is much more likely that property prices will increase in Bulgaria than in the UK, in the sense that even if they increase in the UK, which I'm sure they will do, in Bulgaria they will increase by a lot more because living standards are catching up from Bulgaria to the UK and indeed other Western European countries as well, like France, Italy, etc. So I think if you look at it from a long-term perspective, Bulgaria offers a lot more opportunities. Now, of course, when I first created this channel and one of my first videos was about Bulgaria, I think about 4 years ago, prices were dirt cheap in Bulgaria. And they were, for me, clearly a bargain. And you could actually find property in places like Varna, Plovdiv, Burgas, fairly centrally located for even under €1,000 per square meter. Those days now are long gone. That's 3 or 4 years ago. That's long gone. But I still think in the long term, property will be a good investment in Bulgaria. But there is a but here. You have to stick to the big cities like Sofia, Varna, Plovdiv, etc., and Burgas too. Simply because here you're not likely to see a population decline like you are in rural places. So I think if you are going to go into this market for the long term, please do stick to the larger cities. Perhaps the ski resorts are also worth considering, although property prices in Bansko have gone up a fair bit as well. They're so much cheaper than Western European countries, sometimes 15 times cheaper, 10 to 15 times cheaper than in places like Italy, France. So perhaps also the ski resorts are worth considering. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this video. Are you still considering buying property in Bulgaria? Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I shall see you very, very soon on the next video. Thanks again.